Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of From the Stump. I thought this week we'd talk about what to and what not to cut. I'm not professing myself as any expert, but I want to share with you what I learned when I built our cabin here many years ago. So I thought what we'd do is take a drive down through my own lot, and I'll show you what I would cut, where I wouldn't cut, and what I would think is acceptable and I would cut myself to use. When I was building this place, I was still pretty. This was new to me when I did this. My father's a builder, so I knew all about normal construction, but doing solid wall construction was something different. I bought every book under the sun, read everything you could think of, and that's all fine and good. It gives you lots of technique, but it doesn't actually give you the experience when you're felling and dropping those trees and you're looking at them and you think, oh yeah, that'll be good. And then you get it out to the mill and you start making some cuts and you find it, oh, maybe that's not so good. So let's take a drive and I'll show you all about what we're talking. All right, so we're here. So this trail that we just drove down is nice and flat and everything kind of comes out, more or less level on this one side over here. But this side here has this big rock ridge on it. And there's some really nice timbers that are standing here. But you got to look at this stuff when you're cutting them. So if you look at this guy here, you can see he comes pretty much straight up, from about here, and it looks pretty good. But when you get to the bottom, you can see it makes a few jogs. And when I was first cutting, I thought, oh, you know what, these jogs aren't bad because I could cut here and I can cut there at the edge of that bend, and then I can cut above it and get another straight length. But what I found out after I got into a bunch of timbers and making those squares was that when you look at this tree, and you see this big swoop in the bottom of it, and these roots are so heavily anchored coming out this way. This whole one side of this tree is right full of stress. And there's no way you can change it. No matter how you cut it, you can cut it to whatever you want. That stress is going to come out in these boards. So this is something I would definitely avoid, guys, if you got something like this, unless it's a last resort. And you really need the piece, but this is definitely something that I would avoid. You can see another one up here on the side of the hill. It's got another great big jog in the bottom of it, and you can see the heavy roots. So the other indicator is sometimes you see these trees and you can almost see that the roots are holding them up out of the ground. That's a sure sign that that's got a ton of stress in it. So there's something to keep your eyes on. Let's keep going. We'll try and find something that I would actually cut and recommend cutting. Okay, now we're at our next spot. So more examples, guys, and I stopped here because I seen this and I wanted to show you, and this is something else you got to watch. And I don't know if this is everywhere in the world, but this is definitely here. This guy here has been broken in a storm, and you see this crack on the outside here? It's been twisted, and we call them microbursts. We get this wind that comes through here, and it's not a tornado, but it spirals, and it'll pull these things and twist them, and then they end up with these cracks, and then they die. So that's just something else to watch for. Let's just go down a little further because I know there's some ones down here that I want to cut. Okay, this is a nice little stand. This will be where I'm cutting next when I've got any projects. This is kind of something you probably want on your own property, guys, is you scout it, and you know you don't have to take them down right away, obviously, because the longer you leave them there, the bigger they're going to get. But you always have an idea. Oh yeah, I've got some timbers for that project. I'll go knock them down. So you look at something like this, you can see it's got a nice even root on it. It's on fairly level ground. It's coming straight up, not too many curves, a couple of little swoops. But this is the kind of tree that you could get away with what we were talking about, where you'd cut that jog out of it and then you'd still be able to get another length beyond it without it having a ton of stress in it, and they'll actually stay more or less straight for you. Same with this guy over here, this guy here. So that's why I wanted to bring you in here and let you know. Okay, something I guess I should let you know too. So these are all hemlock. This is mostly what I'm constructing or doing outbuilding stuff with right here. We've got all kinds of other down here: hard maple, soft maple, elm, oak. I think pretty much got everything. There's a big yellow birch right here. So you can see where he branches off. He's got 2 cuts in him anyway before his branch. That's something I should take down for furniture. So, okay, so I hope that helps everybody out when you're looking at trees and trying to decide what to cut and what not to cut. Try and find something that's on level ground that's got an even root system in it, and then you won't have to worry about stuff curling and buckling and giving you angled and strange cuts. Talk to a lot of guys that, you know, they're worried about what the mill's doing, and sometimes there's nothing going on, nothing that you're doing, nothing's wrong. It's just simply a matter of so much stress in that log that the machine just can't manage the cut, and that happens. So I'll meet you back up at the house. We'll talk a little bit more, and I'll see you soon. Okay, so here we are back at the house, and we'll just go revisit there what we already looked at. So we went down, and the first tree we saw was growing up on the side of a hill, and not something I would recommend, something I would leave, guys. Learn that from experience. It looks like they're nice and straight part of the way up, but that stress follows them all the way up that tree. Further down the trail, we went in and we found where there was some more level ground, even root structure. So we should have a pretty decent piece to cut without any stress in it. Something else too, and I don't have very much of it up here, but I've definitely come across it and talked to lots of guys who have dealt with it as well. When you get a tree, say out in the middle of a farm field or something that's been there and it's fully mature, they'll get stress from just being wind blowing in one direction as well. So when you're looking up that tree, if you see really heavy limb structure out to one side, that's also another really good indicator that you could be getting into something with a lot of stress in it once you get it onto the mill deck. All right, so we'll leave that at that.